Hey guys, this is Mannequin, and I'm back with another video. This time I'm going to be introducing FL Studio. So I've talked a lot about Logic Pro, but I decided I'd go into a little bit of FL Studio since I'm going to be using that sometimes. The reason being because right now, you might be able to tell by the audio, I'm using different equipment, and that's because I currently live in two different places depending on the time of the week and whatever. So sometimes I need to use Windows instead of Mac. So I wanted to talk about FL Studio in case I ever do a tutorial in there on something, whatever it is. You guys kind of know what I'm doing. So, um, if you prefer to use FL Studio and you haven't started it yet, this will also be helpful for you. This is going to be a brief introduction here. Okay, so the first thing to keep in mind with FL Studio is it is based on loops. And this is very different from what you normally see in audio software. And I'll show you that right now when I bring up the mixer. So if I do view mixer and oops, mixer was not the thing I wanted to pull up actually. I lied, but that is a good thing to have down there. What I meant was a playlist. Here we go. So this is what you normally think you'd see in something like Logic Pro or Pro Tools or Ableton. You'd see all your stuff, like all your tracks, lined up here. This is actually not the basis of how FL Studio works. FL Studio works in patterns and loops. So I'll show you what this is right now. A pattern has either sequenced in notes, which you could do manually or you could actually record in. And the other thing it has is it has a piano roll, which is similar to MIDI notes. So that means that you could do what you normally do, except it's in a completely different format. So I'll show you, for instance, in Logic Pro, typically you just drag in your kick samples to right here. That will work in FL Studio, but typically it's easier to pull up your kick here by clicking this. Choose whatever sample you want, and then you have it right here, and you could just key it in to this loop. And then if you play the pattern, there's your kick drum. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is if you start to sequence things in to this loop, you got to realize that it's all going to be in its own little pattern here, which is different from having its own track. And I'll show you that right now. Here, let me add a synth master channel here. And then we'll just do this reset. Now what I'm going to do to show you what I'm talking about is pull up the piano roll in this and throw in a bass line, just a really simple bass line. Let's see. We'll make it F sharp. That's been my favorite lately. Except that's probably way too low. Okay. So shorten these a little bit so it kind of sounds like a bass line. So now if you'll notice, I didn't get another track here when I added this synthesizer. Instead, what I got was I got these little dots up here which signify the kick drum, and these little lines down here which signifies my bass line. Now, this means that you need to think differently when working in FL Studio as opposed to regular DAWs. So typically you'll have a pattern for your kick drum, which we will conveniently name kick. And then if we want to add a clap later, we will create a new one by hitting insert one. We'll name this clap. And then we'll add it on every other beat here. And that way we could have it so it's just the kick here, and then we draw in the clap. So that we have, if we play, instead of playing the pattern, if we play the song, it's now playing from here instead of from up here. And then you get... So it works slightly differently. Instead of having a track for each channel, you have all your channels here and tracks to kind of hold these loops that you're creating. So that's kind of what the name behind FL Studio, that it was originally called Fruity Loops Studio. So that's one thing there, and there's also something considerably different. When I created this synthesizer, actually, if you look at the mixer here, you'll notice that if I play from here, you have, this is the kick and that's the clap. But if I create a new pattern here, bass, and nope, that's not what I wanted. Piano roll. I'm just clicking that piano roll there, except for typing P instead because it's shorter. There, yeah, that sounds good. I like that note today. So shift and drag. And so now I have this new pattern. If I play this, you'll notice you don't hear it. That's because this pattern has not been put into the playlist yet, even though the pattern is there. I can listen to the pattern if I click pattern, but it doesn't play any of this. It just plays what's up here right now. If I click song, it plays the song and whatever shows up in the playlist. So I'm going to put this in by selecting bass and then just drawing it in. And now we have... Now let's say I want to add something like a sidechaining effect. Unfortunately, if you look down here, that's only the kick and the clap. The synth is not showing up. That's one interesting thing about FL Studio that you really need to keep in mind. And that is that it does not, by default, create a mixer strip for each channel that you have. So what you can do is you could use this here to select what channel you're loading it into. If I go into the kick, for example, it's loading it into channel, or insert 1 rather. These are channels, these are inserts. Get that mixed up quite a bit because I'm rather new to FL Studio. I've only been using it for about a month. But anyway, that's lined up to 1. That's why the kick drum comes through 1. So this one, if you look, is currently not lined up to anything. So that means I need to assign it to something. Now I can either click and drag to bring it to 1, or I could click assign free mixer track, and then it'll create something here. And if you look now, it plays through there. And then similar to my videos in Logic Pro, you just click this to go through all your plugins and add stuff. So I could go add Stormgate and do my kick sidechain here really quick. So it doesn't make that big of a difference, but if I do this, it'll make it considerable. So that's what that does. So FL Studio, that's the interesting part about its interface, and the fact that you have this playlist and you have these loops, and they are completely separate. You have to take your loops and put them into the playlist before it plays any of these loops. Automation works differently. I'm kind of on the fence between whether I like this better than Logic Pro's, but I just want to go over this briefly. If I want to change the, let's say we'll change the pitch because we're doing like a build-up or something. So I have this pitch knob. I can move it, and I'll just set it back to the default. And if I go here and click Tools, Last Tweaked, I can create an automation clip. And it's mapped to the last knob that I used. So what I could do is I could actually drag this here and then say I want the pitch to go up. It's that simple. So you don't have to go through like in Logic and start and figure out where it's listed and select that one and make an actual, then go through and edit your automation for that. So FL Studio is slightly more better on that, except for unfortunately you can't just like click the track and select volume. You have to actually go, and that's another interesting thing here. If I want to change the volume of this, I could right click it and hit create automation clip. So it doesn't stack with this one, even though it's the exact same synthesizer. But it's convenient enough to where you could use it without running into any issues. So this is realistic here. And So yeah, you could kind of see there what's being done with automation. There are quite a few other things to go over with FL Studio, but I just kind of wanted to introduce the differences as opposed to other digital audio workstations and how this one is kind of it's a different method of thinking when compared to the other ones. So if you're interested in learning more about how to use audio software and stuff like that, I suggest you check out my other videos, even the ones on Logic Pro, because they talk a lot about, generally speaking, how to use digital audio workstations and how to work with them. Once you get used to generally working with them, you'll find that switching to different software is not that hard. Like I said, I started using FL Studio about a month ago, and I have a track that I actually just I've been working on here, and it's really solid. And I've only been working in FL Studio for 1 month, so it really shows you how pretty much all the stuff you learn is transferable. So if my computer doesn't lag out here, let's see if I can play some of this. Sorry guys, my computer's lagging out. I would fix that if I can, but I really don't want to deal with that right now. So anyway, you could see I've got this pretty big project going, and despite the fact that sounds terrible because of all the artifacts, because the CPU is peaking and stuff like that, um, this is a pretty big project, and you could see that pretty much all the stuff I've learned in Logic I was able to apply in this digital audio workstation. So it's switching is not that hard, and all the stuff you learn is pretty transferable. So thank you for watching, and like I said, if you liked this and you want to learn more, check out my other videos. Most of the stuff is transferable, some of it's not. If you have questions, feel free to ask, and I will answer either with another comment or with some sort of reply, or I might even make a video if I think it's applicable enough. So feel free to do that, and like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. It helps keep me motivated. I am going to upload a video every Saturday. That is my new schedule. So I know this one's a little late in the day, but I actually had something else planned that didn't end up falling through, or that fell through rather, and I wasn't able to complete on time. So I'm giving you guys this instead. But hopefully that will be up next week. I might talk about gear and what gear you should be looking at getting, and what you should kind of plan out by way of purchasing gear and considering and stuff like that. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next Saturday.